Hello everybody and welcome back to a new mod showcase. Today we've got an older mod which actually was released quite a while ago because unfortunately at the moment the mod universe has kind of dried up a bit, the well has run dry a little bit, so I'm currently waiting for some more masterpieces, unless I've missed some, which I don't think I have. I think I've covered the Mortal Empires expanded update. I think I've done pretty well there to catch that when I did. Funnily enough, Great Book of Grudges released a video of the same topic at the exact same time, which was hilarious to me, that we both had the same thought on the exact same day and the exact same time, the exact same video, which was so funny. But yeah, here today we'll be covering the Albion mod from, of course, the great creators Team OvN. They make many a wonderful mod and obviously help bring to life some of these minor factions, minor species, actually, sub-factions, subspecies, which unfortunately we will probably never ever see in the base game. So having a team like Team OvN to be able to create these mods, as well as fully voiced and stuff like that, which is glorious. Obviously implement it into base game. Fever Dream, can it be implemented? Yes, it can. Can it be paid off? Yes, it can. Will they pay them off? No. Just want to get that little tidbit out of the way before I go on a tangent. With that being said, if you do enjoy this mod, the mod, as ever, will be in the description below. Please do go check it out. It's only a little mod in terms of what it does on the campaign map, but it adds a lot of boards for you to mess around with as if you're playing them yourselves. Please leave me a like, that would be great, as well as subscribing if you haven't already. We are doing insanely well in terms of growth on the channel, so please join us as we continue to do, as ever, even more better than we did weeks prior. So please join us. With that being said, let's jump into the mod showcase. Let's go. Okay, so here we go. As ever with these kind of mod showcases, I will show off the campaign effects and obviously what the two legendary lords, as there is two legendary lords here, what they shall be doing and what their aims are. They are very similar. They do have very similar mechanics. Obviously, they are the same faction. However, they do have their own goals in specific. Outside of that, let's quickly talk about who they align with. So Albion's a bit of an interesting one. They're more of a neutral faction, but not to chaos. So that is going to be their main focus. So any chaos aligned factions they do not like. But I've got it so you can see the whole entire map here. If you hover over Orcs, for example, Orcs only have -10 aversion, but then Empire only have +10 affinity. See what I mean? So you could play this in many different ways. Skaven only -20 is not massive. Ogres -12, random 12. Dwarves +5. So do you see what I mean? They are a very odd culture to play as in terms of diplomacy. If you hover over any chaos faction, -100. So that is going to be your main enemy. But it does kind of allow you to play obviously in different ways and explore different allies. You could obviously take over as this is the other start location, sorry, of the other Albion faction. You could maybe start here in Albion, take over these settlements here, and then push over here, ally up with the Orcs and maybe the Beastmen, and push the Empire to extinction. You could do that. Probably not a wise choice. But yeah, you're playing as more of a neutral faction. So yeah, over here we've got one of two of your legendary lord starts. This is Dural Durak, spawning in the Citadel of Lead. When you actually spawn as him, you only have the Citadel of Lead, you don't have Conquator. Be'lakor has actually been moved out. So now your main enemy is the Sightless. The Sightless does not only own this settlement, but because I'm not playing as him, he already has it. And then the Sightless also owns this settlement here. So this faction doesn't exist either. So yeah, you're going to be going up against some Zinc straight away as that Albion faction. Be'lakor is over here on the tippy top of Norska, going up against Varg. He is actually at war with them as well, but obviously he's got the Chaos Warriors trait, where he should be able to vassalize them pretty easily. So yeah, you're still going to have the threat of Be'lakor quite close to you, but in law you basically banished him out of Albion. Get the fuck out of there. Obviously, also in law, Albion's fucking huge in comparison to this. So I say huge, a lot bigger. So unfortunately, Albion's just got to work with. So unfortunately, Be'lakor has been sent to Naughty Corner. The other one over here, I do apologise in advance for pronunciation. We've got Mhoran. Mahornian. Mahornian. The Murder Queen. She's just the Murder Queen. I am awful with pronunciations with English words, let alone some which have been changed and shifted in obviously different dialects. This one sounds to me like an Irishy kind of spin on it, but also kind of like a Welshy spin on it, maybe. I've got a Welsh supporter, maybe he can translate. But yeah, she spawns over here in the Northern Chaos Waste, and she plays basically like Wulfric from the Empire, but instead of going to Lustria, you go into the Northern Chaos Waste, and instead of fighting dinosaurs, you're fighting all manners of hellish abominations. So that is where you start. Over here, if we look back at Durrell, his main focus here is to consolidate the whole of Albion and build up a network of waystones. As you build up waystones, you get basically invasions coming to try and stop you building the waystones. But the waystones kind of work similar in the sense of the lizardmen's mechanic there. The more you build it up, the more benefits you get, and then obviously you can go to different major settlements and keep on building it up. So that's going to be his main focus, obviously trying to build up as many as he can, as well as building like the Great Ogre Circle here, as well as he's got quite a few landmarks here, which are quite good for him. That's a really good one, Forge of the Old World, a grand just base, but it's a tier 4 building, and then loads of tradable resources, and income plus 50% for all buildings, which is insane. And this one, yeah, basically doubles down on you not liking Northgard or the Warriors of Chaos, while making everything else stronger, like Lord recruit rank, Hero recruit rank, success chance, and local recruitment capacity. That's really good. So this is going to make it a powerhouse for you recruiting powerful Lords and Heroes as well as units, if you're playing as Durrell. And this one does give you some corruption, but does buff your relations with High Elves and Lizardmen. Enables you to recruit Druidic priestesses, but you can get them with a normal building anyway, so you don't have to do it this way. Recruitment capacity for Druidic priestesses +2. Winds of magic power reserve capacity +30. Provides an Albion giant in the garrison, and then unlocks recruitment of all these boys as well. So yeah, for the +6 chaos, I'd like to think it's probably not too bad. You could probably trade that off with a couple of buildings here and there, which will hopefully negate that. Going back over here to the Murder Queen, she's got a complete, like I say, a completely different aim in her objectives. Her objectives is just to lay waste to the chaos spawn up here. So she's got a couple of different mechanics from what you'll see on Durrell's page. So she's got this, Attention of the Dark Gods. As she fights, she will increase her attention to the Dark Gods. Now this comes with buffs and, well, low buffs, basically. Low buffs, debuffs. Sure. This comes with buffs and debuffs. So the more you fight, as you can see here, you start off as Unworthy, Plaything for the Dark Gods, Challenger for the Dark Gods, Unworthy for the Dark Gods, and then Marked by the Dark Gods. So as you go through, you'll get more reinforcements. Like I say, you play very much like Wulfric, so you get reinforcements from your homeland. Excuse me, you get more reinforcement from your homeland, but you will also get debuffs like there. -1 control, -2 control, and then this, when it gets to Challenger, is where fighting the enemy gets rough. So enemy leadership +5, so they're not going to break as easy. Enemy weapon strength +10, and then that goes to +8, +15, and then that goes to +10, +25% more weapon strength, which is a lot. After 5 turns of being marked, it goes back down to 0. So not too bad. The benefits here is that your army gets a little bit more leadership, but not as much as the enemy, just to throw that in there. And then you get clan reinforcements sent immediately instead of having to wait every so many turns. So in 4 turns, for example, and my next care package will arrive with some more chumps and boys and whatnot. However, if I get all the way up to marked, they'll just arrive literally next turn. She's also got this, which is a tier, which is based. Sorry, a bar, which is based on basically how much you capture as well as building waystones. So yeah, you still got to build your waystone network, but it's not as prevalent as Dural over there. So yeah, this builds up her belief. The more belief she has, the more she will build up her bar at the top here. That's literally how you do it, just conquering the Northern Chaos Ways. To start off with, you will just have the Scouts of Albion, which will give you lowly clan reinforcements. So not too good clan reinforcements, but they do come with 2 chevrons for all clan reinforcement units. So they come a little bit more boosted, but all around not too crazy. Basically, this is you earning the support of Albion as you go through. The negative isn't really a negative because that's who you're going to be fighting anyway. So you go from the Scouts of Albion to the Albion Raiders, to the Albion Guardians, to the Vanquishers of Chaos, to the Scourge of Chaos, all the way to the Champions of Order. So at the very tippy top there, you get +4 chevrons for all clan reinforcements from Albion, which is really nice. Elite clan reinforcements, so you're going to be getting the best tier reinforcements you can get. Diplomatic relations +60 with Warriors of Chaos, Demons of Chaos, Beastmen and Norska, but they're going to be who you're fighting anyway. So it says it's a negative, but realistically, it's not. Like, that's who you're going to be fighting. It's a good thing. The people's belief in the Raven Queen is unshakable and can no longer be reduced, which is insane. So getting max tier means that you won't be able to lose this tier. You'll be stuck at this tier, which is great. Obviously, as you go up, it can go up and down if you lose territory, but basically you hit 100 here, it doesn't matter. You'll guarantee that, and you will not be able to lose it. And then also on top of that, you get +30 relations with the other Albion factions, which unfortunately is just Dural at this point. Now, I did see a nice little post-it from the mod creator in his comment section in his mod page, which, as ever, if you're interested in the mod page, the mod itself, it will be in the description. He did say that they are looking currently at not making new factions to play, but adding minor sub-factions to play, to be introduced around the map. So right now there's only 2 legendary laws, but in the future there might be a couple minor factions here, there and everywhere as well, which is pretty cool, adding a bit of diversity to the map for other people you may play as, because right now, unless you're playing in this local area, you're not going to experience any of the Albion forces or anything like that. For example, if you play in Cafe, good luck to you. They might as well not exist. It's yeah, it is what it is. Obviously, lore friendly. They are in Albion. That's where they spawn. But I believe someone mentioned that one of the Albion characters does go to Lustry at some point. I can't remember what he was called. Bran, maybe I think he was called. Does go to Lustry at some point. And he's not unfortunately in it. So it'd be nice to have some kind of like, not necessarily Bran himself, but like a faction down here which is meant to visualize his settlements or something like that. Could be pretty cool. So with that being said, that is the greater scheme of what we are looking at with the... I've lost myself. Here we are. The greater scheme of what we're looking at in terms of the Albion factions. Of course, they come with a whole array of new basic military buildings, as well as defences and infrastructure. Everything is completely new to the Albion faction. But with that being said, there is plenty of units to look at, and so I think it's time to jump into it. Also, yeah, just real quick, have a look around the map for some landmarks. There are some new ones, and depending on obviously which faction you play, are going to be more readily available to you. For example, here at the Folly of Malefics, you get the Raven's Nest, which gives you recruitment of ravens, provide garrison of 4 crows and 3 ravens, which is going to make this pretty strong actually with all these additional chaff units. And then also giving you all those lovely buffs as well. Campaign line of sight 100%, it's quite nice in this region and adjacent regions, so it's going to be able to, yeah, that's actually quite nice. Only tier 2 building as well, so you can build it straight at the get-go. Bosh, and then also you've got the medicine hut as well. Oh, actually, that's actually another point. I completely forgot about that. I'm glad I actually read that there. So you also have a extra resource up here called Woad. Now this is your basically magical paint, which you paint on yourselves and whack on yourself, and then the druids can even enhance it to become even stronger. What this allows you to do is very similar to the scrap mechanic from the orcs, is if you click on here, unit upgrades, there you go. So by using Woad, we can give the giant here, the Albion giant, different effects and different buffs and stuff like that. This applies to most of the human units. Unfortunately, the Oathsworn don't get a choice, but for example here, the Maiden Guard here can get leadership, fire resistance, snipe and stalk, or you could go down less armor, more speed, devastating flank and causes fear. So it's quite nice here. Barrier hit points plus 600, fell rage, missile strength plus 6, weapon strength plus 6. Not too bad. Kind of come with a trade-off as well as a buff. So yeah, keep an eye on that, and obviously pick what you think is best for you. But there we go. That is now officially it. That applies to both factions here. So let's jump into the unit showcase and show off everything we have got to show there. Okay, so here we go with the Albion roster. This is half of it here because, again, if you do not know who Team OvN is, they are a bunch of naughty boys and girls, maybe just boys, who invest a lot of time into creating some absolutely spectacular races, which unfortunately we'll probably never see the light of day like Albion here itself. However, what they do is bring it to life in a glorious way. Obviously only 2 legendary lords, but God almighty is there a lot of units here, so absolutely beautiful. And not only is there a lot of units here, they're all voice acted as well, which is another lovely little tidbit from Team OvN. They invest a lot of time and a lot of skill into making these mods absolutely great. Again, another situation where realistically, oh god, I'm slumped in my chair here while saying it. I don't want to say it. Could this be implemented in game base game and just be paid off by CA? Yes. Let's move on. I'm going to be stuck in that hill. I'll die on that hill every single day. But you know, we let's just move on. I'm going to tear up. So moving on to the legendary lords straight off the get-go, then we have Dural on the left here, and then we've got the Murder Queen on the right. Now when it comes to all the lords and hero choices, everyone actually has a mount option. Everyone either has a chariot as a mount option or a horse as a mount option. The Murder Queen just has a giant fucking crow or raven or whatever on earth this is as her like unique mount, which looks pretty cool to be fair. But let's have a look at stats. So we've got Dural here. Looking at his stats, he's obviously not looking too hot in terms of actual military prowess. But of course, he's a spellcaster, so he's not going to be doing too hot in terms of fighting. But spellcasting, obviously, we're doing a lot better with. So he's disciplined. He's got woad paint on, which obviously is going to give him some buffs, probably to like physical resistance and stuff like that. Yeah, and then he's also a spellcaster. Now this mod also adds a new magic tree, so he's got the Law of Truthsayers here. A lot of the Law of Truthsayers is like buffs and debuffs, like for example there the plus 44 damage resistance, they're imbued with magical attacks and more weapon damage or reload skill. So yeah, he buffs a lot of the boys. He does have a magic missile attack there or spell there, and a regeneration spell there, which is pretty cool. It also resurrects dead combatants, which is quite nice. So he's a buffer spellcaster with 1 magic missile damage one. He's also got a hex there, which just means that people can't shoot and they can't move. Yeah, not too bad. But all in all, he's mainly a buffer lord, as are the other ones when we get to them as well. So yeah, continuing down here, he does also have, for example, there the woad paint, which gives him an extra 8 damage resistance. That's ward save as well, which isn't too bad. As well as he has more than 15 winds of magic, which usually, obviously it's only at 12 now, but we've got 16 in reserve, so I'm sure that'll be fine. And affects allies in range max 1. So he's going to give him someone around him an extra damage resistance, which isn't too bad. He also has a ability here, which is 2 uses of summoning Fen Beasts, which is quite nice again for him being a spellcaster to be able to plonk someone on top of himself and yeah, not get absolutely pinned down there. He does have some other things here, like for example the Amulet of the Old Ones. There, when he's almost dead, it'll give him just a surge of health and increase the power reserves, which is really nice. Release a burst of winds of magic when activated, which is quite cool. So yeah, gets more winds of magic, more health, and more reserves for almost dying, which is quite cool. He also has the staff of Dural Durac, which increases cooldowns for enemy spellcasters in range as long as he's casting. Which again is quite a nice one. Obviously, if you're going up against more spellcasters, increasing their cooldown is going to be quite good, especially as Dastardly Skaven. And then obviously like stuff like Arcane Conduit there. Passive ability, Law of the Truthsayers, extra missile resistance there. Again, affects allies in range, all allies, as long as he's casting and triggering a spell. So yeah, a nice spellcaster there. Moving on to the Murder Queen, this is going to be your more heavy hitter, should we say, in comparison. She's not got that much greater stats. Well, she does actually. I was looking at her stats, I was like, they're not that impressive, but no, actually, she outdoes Dural in pretty much everything. So she is still a spellcaster. Again, B stats may be skewed because she's on the back of a fucking crow. But yeah, so she is still a spellcaster, so don't expect her to be absolutely going off in one in melee. However, there will be something which will help you in that regard in a second I'll get to. So yeah, spellcaster, she does have a bit of a mix down here. So she's got some Law of Death spells, she's got some Law of Beast spells, so a summon spell there. And then she's also got some Law of Shadow spells, 2 of each. So yeah, not too bad. Looking at her stats, only 30 armor, meh. Speed 130, so she's going to be getting around the map incredibly quickly. Obviously, when she's on the back of this, she can fly. Melee attack plus 52, melee defense 44 with magical attacks on the melee, which isn't too bad. Weapon strength 400 and charge bonus at 66 there. So yeah, all round, not too bad. She's got 3 abilities bound to her. There we go, that's the right word to use. So she's got Wings of Fate, that's the magical missile for the Truthsayers. She's got 4 uses of that bound to her, which is quite nice, obviously not costing anything but doing good damage. A magic missile attack, so yeah, should be able to get some hits downrange pretty nicely. She's also got this Watchers of the Raven Queen, so she can summon 2 units of crows with a cooldown of 2 minutes in between the 2 units. And then here she's got Servants of Mahor, yeah, the servants of them, which allows her to summon a conspiracy of ravens. I love that. Summons a murder of crows and summons a conspiracy of ravens. Only one of them though, which yeah, lovely, loving it. A nice variation between the laws here. Obviously both being spellcasters, but both very different in their own regard with obviously the spells they can use. Good thing is they will be reinforced by 2 more generic lords. So on the left here we've got the Overking. This is going to be your main melee focused lord, which is going to be very needed, should we say, when you're lacking main melee lord focused legendary hero. So having a look at the stats here, he has Devastating Charge, Anti-Infantry and Melee Expert, which is absolutely lovely. Unlike the last mod we covered, he actually does have the bonus piece Infantry Tidbit. This is what I was talking about during the other mod showcase, which he didn't have that, but it did say there was Anti-Infantry, so I didn't actually know if they was getting a bonus or not. But however, over here you can actually see they definitely are, which is lovely. Jubbly. Devastating Charge, Anti-Infantry, Melee Expert is going to be glorious for you to have. And then looking again at the stats, armor 100 with shield, that's a mighty fine shield as well. 75 speed is not too bad. 32 melee attack, 22 melee defense, so definitely going to be more of a heavy hitter. 420 weapon strength with the armor piercing and bonus piece infantry is pretty naughty. Have a look at some of his bound abilities. He's got Foe Seeker, which most people will have. He's also got a Potion of Full Hardiness, which gives him Unbreakable for 6 seconds, as well as more charge speed and charge bonus, which is actually lovely. And then he's got the Warcry ability as well, which gives all allies in range, which is actually pretty naughty, a range of 35 meters, plus 16 leadership, plus 14 melee defense, and plus 14 melee attack. So this is going to be absolutely pivotal to keeping your front line fighting and doing better in battle. Moving over to the right here, we've got the Truthsayer with the Truthsayer's spell list. He is a spellcaster with Woad Paint, as you can see here. He's got all the glorious paint in all the glorious places. I'm just not too sure if that's been painted as well. Moving swiftly forward, 11. Let's have a look at his stats. Don't turn too much to the left or right. We may get flashed. Jesus Christ. I've seen many a homeless man in my hometown walking around just like this. It is not a pretty sight for what he's about to show us. Having a look at his stats, he's got pretty abysmal stats, to be fair. Armour only 5, leadership 65, speed 34, meh. Melee attack, meh. Melee defense, meh. Weapon strength, meh. Charge bonus. So pretty much abysmal all round. However, what he can give bonus to is he can be mounted on a horse, I believe. And it does come with some abilities here, like the Power Stone here, which gives a recharge to his abilities and stuff like that, and more reserves per second, which is quite nice, obviously giving you a buff to your Winds of Magic. And then also a Blast and Magic Missile spell down here, which is pretty good as well. Having a look at his spells then, so he's a Truthsayer, but he's got basically the same spells as Juro there. So again, kind of if you're using the Murder Queen, the Truthsayer would be a nice lord to kind of bring along for these specific spells, because obviously she doesn't have them, and the heroes we'll get to in a minute doesn't necessarily have them either. So yeah, and there's some really nice ones like that. Reviving Dead Combatants is really good. Wings of Fate, I'm not too sure how good that is. There's some, that one obviously making something not shoot. You can get close enough. It's a range of 250 meters, by the way, so you can do that from miles away. Stopping artillery or whatnot from shooting could be really good. I do love that, how they've like got their own thing there. Sure. But yeah, it could be really naughty, obviously stopping artillery or some heavy armor piercing ranged units from across the map shooting, which is lovely jubbly. Moving on to your generic heroes here. So yeah, obviously your main 2 legendary boys are spellcasters, and this could be a really lovely boy to come and help you here on the front line to keep your spellcasters safe. We've got a petty chieftain here. He is armor piercing and anti-large. He's got 50 armor, 65 leadership, speed 35, again can be mounted to obviously make him faster. Melee attack 36, melee defense 55, so going to be able to hold the line like an absolute Chad. Weapon strength 335 with the bonus to large and armor piercing, which is glorious. And then he does come with some bound abilities as well. Colossal Strike and Foe Seeker, which we've seen before, and the Potion of Full Hardness, very much like the Overking on the left there. So yeah, a nice all-round melee focus hero choice. Really good, obviously, for you to get in there and support your legendary heroes. If melee wasn't your focus and you weren't really interested in it at all, we do also have the Druidic Priestess hiding away under her little cowl here. So yeah, not looking too bad. Again, stats not looking too great. She is only a spellcaster though. She does have some band abilities. Forbidden Rod, which obviously does damage to herself, I believe, yeah, but does give her a bonus to her recharge rate on power reserves and stuff like that, as well as Scroll of Shielding there, which gives her or an ally 25 damage resistance as well, which is what I'd say, which is pretty good. So yeah, stats not too great, but basically keep her out of melee as much as you can. In terms of what spells she offers, again, kind of a mixed bag of emotions down here. So she's got 2 things of Law of the Light, a nice buff there and a buff there. She also has Law of the Beasts here, 2 things of Law of the Beasts, again, more buffs there, and another buff there. And then she also does 1 Law of the Life, which is a healing one. Which unfortunately does give a little bit debuff, but you are healing people, so it's kind of like get them out of combat, heal them, and get them back in. So yeah, a nice healing spell, Earthblood there, and then of course the magic missile, Wings of Fate, which only is a 6 costing Winds of Magic spell. So yeah, all around not too bad. So there you go, that is the lords and heroes we have covered. Let's have a look at the melee infantry now, and there's lots to show off, so let's quickly run through them as much as we can. Okay, so here we go. Moving on to the infantry then. We've got plenty of them to go through, so let's quickly run through them. Stats I will show you on the left, however, categorically I'm not going to run through them. I'll allow you to pause at whatever time. I will just tell you what they are focused on with being shielded and their word paint, for example, and their general main focus on the battlefield. So starting off with your tier 1 infantry, you've got the warband. You've got 3 units of the warband. You've got the warband with, well, it says swords and shield, but that's definitely not a sword, that is an axe. You've got the warband with spears, and also you've got the warband with great weapons. What this will allow you is a nice versatility early game to be able to choose obviously which one you wanted. Did you want a more stonkier holding the line, front line with the sword and shield? You obviously want these on the flanks as best you can with the spears for the cavalry and monster units which may attack. And maybe some AP units in the middle here. Obviously all categorically the same, but you've got AP, anti-large and just generic hold the line as best we can, boys. So yeah, nice variation between early game units there. They do have a Regiment of Renown, the sword and shield ones, which are the... I'm not even going to bother, I'm not even going to try. The Warriors of Kote. I know there's a in there somewhere, and I'm not saying it. I'm not doing this every single video. So we've got the Flamey Sword Boys is what I'm going to call them. A nice variation to the warband down there. Looking quite glorious actually. They're disciplined servants of the Sun God, which actually gives them a nice little lore tidbit there, and probably explains why their weapons are on fire, as well as having woad paint and shielders as well. In comparison to the stats, they have a lot more armor, a little bit more leadership, more melee attack, more melee defense, and actually less weapon strength, funnily enough. But they do come with the bonus here to the burnt effect on their melee attacks, as well as flame attacks there on their melee attacks as well, which of course their weapons are on fire. Moving on down the line, we've got these boys over here, the Woad Raiders, making sure I've not missed someone there yet. Woad Raiders. So these are tier 2. These started off as tier 1 and tier 2 when you get to great weapons. Moving on to more tier 2 boys. These boys are scantily dressed as well. Definitely basically your berserkers of the Albion race. These boys care little for clothes. Basically got a fur diaper on, or nappy if you're in England like me. I don't know why I said diaper. But yeah, looking absolutely beautiful in their painted glory. So they have woad paint. They are anti-infantry, which again is a nice bonus there. Obviously being able to go up against some infantry choices, obviously a little bit more specialised. They have frenzy, but they are weak against armour, unfortunately not having any AP. Another thing they also don't have is armour, because obviously clothes mean little to them. So yeah, a nice choice there, but obviously try and go up against more lightly armoured units instead of heavily armoured, because they just can't do it. And keep them out of the way of basically... They're a Gauss Cannon. They've got no armour, they don't care for armour, they want to die. But yeah, they want a good time while doing it. Moving on to the kind of more civilized bunch of boys by the looks of it. Their Regiment of Renown variation, the Blood Swan. Looking glorious. They do have Red Woad, which I'm guessing in lore will probably give them some additional benefits. Sure, they gain magical type of woad paint that protects the wearer by draining the blood from their enemies. Sure, they're a damage dealer, frenzy, and they are unbreakable, so these boys cannot die. They were found to the very last. Another good thing you can see there, they have a barrier, which is pretty cool. And yeah, all round looking pretty naughty. Do have armor piercing attacks in relation to their normal counterparts, not so are good against armored units. However, they do lose their anti-infantry there, so they are a lot more focused, should we say, around armoured units, where these are more focused around the infantry, bonus use infantry. So yeah, not too bad. Moving on down the line, we'll get into some more specialised units here now. So we've got the Oast one, which is going to be your more high-tiered-ish units. I mean, they're only tier 2, but we're getting there. So these are disciplined and they are armoured and shielded, so nothing really much to write home about them there. Obviously having that immune psychology is pretty nice, which comes with the disciplined, I believe. Again, nice little lore tidbits. Team OvN do really good with that and are bringing factions like this to life. So yeah, absolutely glorious. Stats down on the left looking pretty good for what you're getting with an entity count of 100. Another unit of Swan here, halberds. So very similar to the base version, but these boys have armor piercing and bonus feast large as well to boot, which is pretty good. Obviously what they bring with the bonus feast large and the armor piercing, they lack in protection because they've now lost their shield. But yeah, a nice variation. Basically what you want, a frontline unit holding the middle and the centres, and then you've got the halberds holding the flanks if needs be. So yeah, not too bad. I don't believe, what on earth are they? Oh yeah, whoops. Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll get to them in a second. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing a regiment renowned. Nope. So moving on, we've got our more specialised units here, lesser entities, and obviously different purposes for these boys. So here we've got the druidic, Jesus, weepers, druidic initiates. It's a very easy word to say, but I was just having a bit of a problem there. So these are only 60 entities in this one, so a pretty small group of boys. Armour 15, stats looking pretty abysmal to be fair. But what's cool about them is they actually have a spellcaster trait, which yeah, here you can see they have the Shield of Thorns, 3 uses of the Shield of Thorns, as well as the Awakening of the Wood, which is an explosion, 2 uses of that as well. So a nice buff, missile resistance and melee damage reflection, and a nice explosion effect there with obviously the debuff of melee attack acceleration and speed there as well. So yeah, all round not too bad. A nice versatile unit to kind of throw in there for some freebies, obviously not using Winds of Magic, which is glorious. Moving on over here, we've got these lovely women here, the Maiden Guard. These have Woad Paint, Devastating Charge, and Armor Piercing. So again, a more specialised unit. Having a look at them, only an entity count of 80, but yeah, kind of filling a different kind of role to what we've seen before. We've had some bonus feast large, which these are, and we've had some armor piercing as well, but they also have magical attacks, which is going to be great for attacking more ethereal units and stuff like that. Also having plenty of physical resistance on that devastating charge is going to mean that they're going to be able to break people as well as not take too much damage themselves quite quickly. Moving on down the line, we've got... Oh, actually, these are the Regiment Renown version. We'll cover these real quick. These girls are looking pretty glorious, to be fair, in all manners. Look at them. In comparison to these ones, these look beautiful. So yeah, this is the Oracle's Maiden Guard. So this is the Maiden Guard Regiment of Renowned. They have Woe Paint, they are armoured and shielded, which is pretty good. Only 50 armour though, but yeah, they're still armour. Anti-large and charge defence against all. So obviously where these ones are going to be your more offensive unit, shall we say, obviously trying to get in there with a glorious charge and whatnot, devastating charge. These ones are going to be your, again, Regiment Renowned, so you can get one of them, but these ones are going to be more kind of sitting there and taking the charge while trying to do as much damage when obviously getting charged and stuff like that. Charge defense against all will help there massively. Immune psychology, beautiful. A guardian trait as well, good. Yeah, I like that guardian trait. Physical resistance plus 15. Yeah, nice. So they're going to be really good to have accompanying a lord and whatnot. Moving on, we have another tier 2 boys. So these are some Oakham Barrowites. These are a campaign specific unit. I believe you have to build a specific building to recruit them. They're undead. Well, Barrowites. Look at the stats there, 120 in them, looking absolutely glorious to be fair. Excuse me, 120 entity, anti-infantry and armoured and shielded. So again, you can have multiple of these. This is not Regiment Renowned or anything like that. So you can have multiple of these. Being undead obviously brings its own drawbacks and positives, but the armoured and shielded and anti-infantry is actually quite nice and do have magical attacks as well. So yeah, a nice unit choice there. We're not done yet though with the infantry choices. We also have these lovely boys, chosen of Ishranos. Absolute giga chads, but basically like nature beasts. They look really cool. So these are tier 4 all of a sudden, just throwing it out there. These are great axe infantry. They have an unstable form, which I'm not too sure what it means. Oh, basically they crumble. They crumble in battle. So yeah, that's fine. Elemental instability, yeah. So when they, instead of dying or fleeing, instead of fleeing, they are going to die. Instead of fleeing, they'll crumble. So yeah, that's fine. They have Forest Stalkers, so obviously going to have benefits to fighting in the trees and obviously staying in the trees. Armor piercing and regeneration as well. Looking at the stats, they're not too bad. They do have fire attacks on the melee as well as armor piercing, so yeah, really nice. Regeneration obviously is going to help them keep in the fight for longer, so looking really beautiful there. And over here we've got the Highlanders. I love the like Celtic theme of these boys, is what I'm going to say. Celtic theme, yeah, that's what I'm going with. I love these boys. So they've got Unbreakable Will, Disciplined, Woad Paint, and Armor Piercing. Now, Unbreakable Will, I would assume would mean that they're unbreakable, but they actually aren't. Oh, so I believe they have the effect similar to Kislev's units. So when they break, they keep on fighting. On for some time until running away. Potentially, or it could potentially be that where. No, I don't think that's it. But they've got a cool ability there. When leadership is higher than broken, entities cannot die while the ability is active. So it has to be in melee, and their entities can't die, which is really good. Moving on to their Regiment of Renowned. Look at these boys, Jesus Christ. We've got, oh god, Defenders of Khan Malog. They also kind of remind me of like Skellige from Witcher, but yeah, side point. They have Woad Paint, Unbreakable Will, Armor Piercing, and Anti-Large. Also, these boys are a little bit more specialised in anti-infantry and armor piercing, so a nice all-rounder there. Tier 3 by the way, whereas these boys are more focused on your anti-large. The only problem is they are a Regiment of Renown, so you only get one of them. Moving on to some range units now. Now unfortunately there's not many range units, but what there is a artillery unit, so we'll get into that in a second. So starting off with the base range unit, you've got the Young Slingers, a tier 1 unit. They're pretty abysmal. Looking at the stats there, alright. They're decent melee combatants, which is a nice little trade-off there, and they've got Woad Paint. Ammunition 20, range of 140, and missile strength at 20. Yeah, alright. Again, tier 1 missile choice, don't expect too much from them. Moving on to the second missile choice, and there's only a couple. We've got these lovely women here, the Huntresses. So they have Woad Paint, good range at 160, not too bad there. Vanguard point, which is nice, and Stalk, which is really good. They have 24 ammunition and a missile strength at 20 there as well. Obviously having that Woodsman effect, the Stalk, fire while moving, and Vanguard deployment is going to make these girls, I'm going to say boys, these girls quite useful in combat. They do have a Regiment of Renown as well, so these are the Wardens of the Isles. Again, Huntresses. They have Woad Paint, armor piercing missiles, decent melee combatants, and Stalk. So when you compare them, they have what do they have less ammunition, so not as much ammunition as what they do, but more armor, more health, more leadership, more melee attack, more melee defense, more weapon strength, more charge bonus, and more missile strength. So absolutely just fucking everything. Jesus Christ. So yeah, really good there. Again, Regiment of Renown, so you only get one of them, but obviously versatile in that sense there. Moving on to the catapults. Wow, these are the they're just catapults, man. I'm sick and tired. Catapults, range of 400, so actually pretty good catapults as well. Good enough to obviously shoot quite far down range. 400 missile strength, 164 with the AP as well, which is pretty naughty, and then ammunition of 22. Again, keep them out of melee as much as you can. They do have anti-infantry as well, apparently, so yeah, not too bad. A nice inclusion here. There is only one artillery, but I don't think these boys are really renowned for artillery, especially looking at it. It is very rudimentary, should we say. But with that being said, that is your basic military units. Let's move on to Cavalry and Monstrous boys now as we round out the roster. Okay, so here we go with the Cavalry and Monster choice here. Let's quickly fly through these because we've got a lot of boys to show off here as we round out the roster. So starting off with the cavalry, we've got your lowest tiers of cavalry units here. We've got the Hobblars, they've got woad paint, shielded and vanguard deployment. Pretty nice there having the vanguard deployment, obviously being able to be a bit more versatile. However, in the grand scheme of things, starts looking alright. Speed at 90 actually, to be fair there, so that's pretty good. But they are only tier 1, so don't expect the world of them. They do have a variation, 2 variations actually. So they've got the Hobblars with spears, again having an anti-large instead of just like normal generic all-rounder. So again, good against other cavalry units or large entities, mainly other cavalry units, probably pretty good there. As well as this unit, which is javelins, so a nice fire while moving javelin units, reminding me very much of the Norscan units here, the Norscan horse marauders or whatever they are. So yeah, tier 2 as we move up here, but yeah, not. Again, don't expect too much from them. We do have the bonus for these large, because they do have spears, and then they can fire while move, as well as the vanguard deployment as well, which is pretty nice. Moving on here, we've got the Oath-Sworn Cavalry, so these are going to be your more, well, basically the next tier above the Hobblars. They are only tier 2, but this is, again, your base Hobblar upgrade, so your base Hobblars were only tier 1, so this is definitely an upgrade for them. Looking at the stats there, a lot better stats, and they are disciplined and armoured and shielded. With the immune psychology, it's pretty naughty. Moving on to the right, another Oath-Sworn unit here. Tier 2, again, better stats though than these, I guarantee. Let's have a quick look just to double check. Yeah, vastly. They're just a little bit slower. A little bit slower, but vastly better stats in every other sector there. Again, a nice unit here to be able to chase down other cavalry units, or maybe large units with the anti-large they have. Immune psychology is great as well. The normal Oath-Sworn unit does have a regiment of renown, which look glorious, may I add. So these are the firstborn sons. They have something to prove apparently, so I'm guessing they're probably sons from nobility trying to prove themselves to their fathers and whatnot. They're disciplined, have devastating charge, and are armoured and shielded, which is pretty good to be fair for an early game unit. That devastating charge and armoured and shielded is going to be absolutely insane, may I add. As well as that something to prove ability there, giving them plus 8 melee armor piercing damage and plus 4 leadership, as well as perfect vigor, as long as their leadership is higher than 50%. That's really good. So yeah, a really nice RR there. I would say likely early game because of what they're based after, but yeah, quite nice there, really good. Moving on from generic cavalry, we now have obviously your chariots. War chariots that are devastating charge, armoured with 100 armour, which actually is really good armour there, and anti-infantry, so these boys are going to be able to plough through boys with devastating charge. And they have armour piercing as well, so yeah, really good chariot unit, as most chariots are. Moving on to your more feral kin here, we've got the centaurs, which look really nice, all being told. A nice variation between men and horse there. Looking at their stats, they've got woad paint, armor piercing, which is really good, very fast at 85 speed, and vanguard deployment as well, so they're going to be able to be put around. They do also cause fear, which is quite nice as well, to be fair. They have a regiment of renown version. Looking at these boys, looking absolutely glorious. These are the hunters of the plains of battle. A very long name for some very long boys. So yeah, they've got woad paint, very fast vanguard deployment, and they can fire while moving because they also have a mighty fine bow and arrow. So they've got a range of 140, ammunition 18 air, and missile strength with the bonus feast large. So these boys are going to be great at focusing down some heavily or bigger units, should we say. We've also bonus feast infantry to the normal weapons as well. This is going to be a pretty nice regiment of renown to use as well. Some really good ones, regiment rounds in this mod pack. So yeah, quite happy with them. Moving on to your beast then, as we move slightly away from cavalry. I mean, that was kind of like the love child between the two sides here. We've got bloodhounds. I love the Irish wolfhounds. This is what this is modeled after. Looks beautiful. Some really lovely dogs, but the Irish wolfhounds are fucking huge in real life. Yeah, ridiculously big boys. I'm assuming that's what it's based after, these ones specifically. So yeah, tier 1 dog unit. Again, don't expect too much from them. They're only good little boys. I say little very modestly. They are very fast with vanguard deployment and unfortunately weak against armour. Alright stats, with Strider as well, not too bad. Moving on to these abominations. What on earth is going on? They're all flying in sync, which is really hurting my eyes, I'll be honest. Jesus Christ, we've got some crows. They're a forest stalker, which bonuses to melee defense and accuracy while fighting within the forest. So you're going to have benefits to fighting in forest, which is fine. Expendable. Feels bad. Vanguard deployment, and they can fly. So again, a nice versatile unit there. No armor though, so Jesus Christ. Good luck to you. And then moving on here, you've got the Ravens, a little bit bigger than the Crow counterparts here. Going to be obviously doing a lot more damage as well. Forest Stalker, very fast on Vanguard deployment. Don't have Expendable, unfortunately, but do have much better stats if we have over there. Yeah. Yeah, that's bad. Yeah. Cool Ravens. That's what my son's name, by the way. My son's called Raven, so yeah, I like saying. He looks like that as well. Here we've got, what, God, most average women in Scotland look like. If you go for a night out in Scotland, this is probably going to be what you're going to be waking up to in the following morning. So yeah, these are your, these are just giant blooded. I'm not going to pronounce that first word. I've butchered enough this episode. Leave me be. So, hey, they've got word paint, armor piercing, anti-large, and damage dealers. So very much like ogres, quite big. Obviously, being a large entity themselves, with 12 of them in here. So yeah, a small entity count, but they're fucking huge. And yeah, will be nice damage dealers against some monstrous units there themselves. Moving on, we've got the Feral Griffin, which, bless it actually is tiny. This thing. It's a little baby. So yeah, we've got the Feral Griffin. It's armor piercing, anti-large, and very fast. We've got plenty of anti-large units here. Speed at 100, so this boy is going to be able to get around the map quick, and it can also fly, which is really nice. Looking at its stats, yeah, not too bad stats with the bonus feast large and armor piercing on its weapon strength as well. Really lovely little Griffin model there. I love that. Moving on to some more hulking beasts. We've got your average night out in Wales. No, I'm joking. This is definitely more Ireland. You've got your armor piercing. I'm sorry, by the way, for the Irish viewers and the Welsh viewers. Not so much the Scots. They probably deserve it. We've got the Fen Beast, an entity count of 16 with armor piercing and regeneration. Armor, yeah, starts not looking too bad there. For tier 3, alright, the regeneration stuff is going to come in quite handy there. And AP, yeah, good AP. They're just big. They're going to get slapped quite quickly. And then here, this is, oh God, this is your average night out in England. Wake up to this, sweetheart, in the morning, you've had a good night. Jesus Christ. Oh dear, Northern Sunshine. I love it. That's the best mate there. Oh God, I need to stop. So yeah, on the left. Oh God, on the left we've got the Albion Giant. This is, oh God, I need to stop. Clear my head. We've got the Albion Giant. Armor piercing, anti-infantry, and causes terror. It's a tier 4 unit, so yeah, not too bad. Does come obviously with wall breaker and siege tracker, so quite nice. The only negative to this is it's fucking huge, very similar to the other boys. So as much damage as it may do, it's also going to get killed quite quickly by range attacks and anti-large especially. It does also have the Bone Crusher contact effect on its melee attacks, which isn't too bad. Armor piercing and Bone Crusher, which gives a nice debuff there. Having a look at, God, whatever this is, the Albion Giant Stone Thrower. God, its range attack is insane. So it's got word paint again, like most units do. Armor piercing, special ranged weapon, and causes terror. Starts not looking too bad with armor piercing on its melee, but having a look at its range, 25 range, 450 actual, 25 ammunition, 450 range, which is insane. So it can launch across the map. That's actually got better range than the artillery. And then 515 missile strength with bonus feast infantry and armor piercing, which, jeepers weepers, that is naughty. Yeah, that is quite good. I just realised they've only got 4 toes. Sorry? You've got issues. Probably inbred somewhere along that. Have you only got 4 toes? I don't know why we're looking at toes all of a sudden. Yeah, weird. You boys are weird. These, sorry, sidetracked. Went on a toe tangent there. Oh God, it don't get any better, does it? Moving on to the Regiment of Renown versions of these boys. We've got Bollogs. He's just called Bollogs. He's a pretty cool boy. in comparison to these boys behind him, very similar stats all around, just a little bit more melee attack and a little bit more melee defense. He also has a ability here called Bollocks, which phase 1 gives him more speed and charge bonus. Phase 2 gives him, holy shit, a lot more melee attack, armor piercing attack, base weapon damage and splash attack power. So yeah, really good at getting in there for 40 seconds. And then phase 3 is he's shot his load and now he's tired and wants to go to sleep. So he's going to be slower and have less melee defense. So holy shit, he's going to kill himself basically. Because if he, oh my god, that's actually quite naughty. And he has to be at less than 50% health. So he's going to go into like a murderous rampage for 40 seconds, for a minute, sorry, collectively. And after that, it's just going to be a cumbersome mess. But yeah, a nice addition there. And then here we've got Cactor. I know it's meant to be said like that, Cactor. Yeah, sure. Have a look at the stats in comparison to the normal stone thrower giant. Jesus. Very similar stats, but has more leadership, more melee attack, more melee defense, and 129 more weapon missile strength, which is insane. That is so good. Wowee. In terms of abilities here, he has almost the same abilities, but he does have this Hengist's Blessing, which allows him to heal, which is quite nice. Has a chance to periodically replenish some hit points. Actives automatically when conditions are met. So yeah, not too bad. A little bit of just sporadic healing here and there. Again, for Regiment Renowned, not too bad. As we move on now then, let's round up the boys. So we've got the Zoats. Very similar to obviously Wood Elf unit. Zoats here. Yeah, they're here. They're chill. They're quite cool. Spellcasters, Forest Bear, Armor Piercing. Stats pretty good. They are tier 4 after all. Magical attacks, dampening magical attacks, which actually removes magical attacks from the enemies they're hitting, which is really good. Wow, yeah, that's actually really good, as well as debuffs them. And armor piercing. Well, these boys are actually insane. They're just fucking big, and there's only an entity count of 8 of them. On top of that, they also have 4 uses of 2 separate bound spells. So they've got Flesh to Stone here, which gives a nice buff, and then Earthblood, which heals them. So yeah, a good unit there. And then here we've got the Fen Hulk. Armor piercing, causes terror, defender, and regeneration. So yeah, just a cumbersome mess of a boy here. He's a tier 4, stats aren't too bad, 470 weapon strength with armor piercing, so yeah, pretty good. But again, he's animated, so he will crumble away when taking too much damage. And then moving on to this really cool thing, it is technically a Fen Hulk, but it's got its own model, which is beautiful, may I say. This is the Green Man. So yeah, looking at stats, really good stats there, to be fair. He's got Wrath of the Forest, which we're going to probably get a nice little lore tidbit there. Poison attacks and regeneration, so going to be great, obviously getting in there and keeping in there. Magical attacks on his melee. Pretty good melee defense there, to be fair, all round, yeah. Going to be able to hold off in melee quite nicely. And then some nice bound spells as well. So he's got Awakening in the Wood, the Explosion, and the Shield of Thorns as well. Another unit had these 2 spells, I can't remember who it was. But yeah, I actually really like this. It reminds me of like a Forest Walker or whatever they're called. Like a Wendigo type thing. No, I don't know. It looks really cool. Skinwalker? Is that it? Don't know. This thing looks beautiful. But there we go, that is the Albion roster and factions mechanics shown off to you. I hope you have enjoyed this. This is a mod which has been out for some time. It's recently received a couple of updates in terms of just a little bit like bug fixes and variations on stats and stuff like that. However, as I mentioned earlier, one thing which will be included soon is more minor factions, whether it be to this mod or other mods. There will be more minor factions added, obviously to help diversify the world a little bit more when you add these mods in. But yeah, a nice campaign, obviously kind of not aligned with anyone, just definitely not Chaos. So yeah, it allows you to have a bit of a versatile campaign. And plenty of units all fully voiced as well by themselves, looking absolutely glorious. here. So there you go. If you have enjoyed this, the mod as ever is in the description below. Please do go check it out. Team OvN do an absolute glorious job with everything they do every single time. If you enjoyed the video I have created, please do leave me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. As we continue to grow, we are doing ridiculously well at the moment, so please join us as we continue to go upwards. With that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Much love, much respect, and I hopefully will catch you in the next one. Bye! Much better, no voice break. See you later, bye!